Let's go to my colleague Heidi Giokos, who is there on the ground. Gauteng Premier, of course, Panyaza Lesufi, is expected to give an update on the explosion in the Johannesburg CBD at this hour. From what we know, one person has died and over 40 others injured. And some of the busiest streets in the city have been cordoned off, including Lillian Ngoyi Street, which was severely damaged. And emergency services have been assessing the situation. And like I said, my colleague is there, Heidi Giokos. Thank you so much for joining us. Heidi, I just spoke to an expert, Professor Terence, about his opinion as to what could have possibly led to this explosion, basically saying that it couldn't be acid mine drainage, the root cause of this problem. But from your understanding, from what you've heard now, we are waiting for that briefing to find out exactly what happened and what the root cause is. But what can you tell us there on the ground?
Yes, we are expecting a briefing from the Premier. We were told it was going to be at 1 o'clock. It's currently 1:15. It's normally about a half an hour delay that normally happens, Baron, but I think we'll get further clarity. At this point, the Premier has asked us not to speculate what could possibly be the cause of this, but video footage that is circulating from CCTV footage of the actual explosion. We've only been seeing the aftermath, but it looks so bizarre given the fact that you literally had cars parked on the side of the road, and literally it seems like an explosion happened underneath underground, and those taxis literally lifting up from the road. We're not at this point sure what it is. The Premier did indicate that there could have possibly been a gas leak. At this particular point, as I've mentioned before, Egoli Gas came out to say their pipelines were not severely affected or damaged. Yes, there was a small gas leak, but nothing too serious or too severe. At this particular point, Sasol was also on scene to try and ascertain what was going on. But at this point, we don't have any solid confirmation as to what could have possibly caused this explosion. We keep hearing the word explosion, but we haven't actually seen any sort of evidence of fire or any significant explosion, except what we are seeing, the aftermath of the road being severely damaged. We do know that one person tragically lost their life because of this. His body actually was found in the early hours of this morning under the rubble and the vehicles, mostly the taxis that were affected by this. We do know that 48 people were medically attended to. 12 people are currently hospitalized, but we'll obviously get more details on the progress of these people. That whole area has been cornered off. We are currently at the command center, so we can't tell you exactly what's going on there, but I was there maybe about 40 minutes ago, and that area is still being completely cornered off, with people not allowed to be in that area because the situation does remain unknown. We don't know if there's going to be a secondary impact, and people are obviously cautioned to be very careful and not cook with the gas or smoke in the area, because we just don't know what's actually going on there.
We don't know exactly what gas we're also dealing with here at the end of the day. Heidi, how are people feeling in the area? Have you spoken to some of the residents there? Are they still concerned? Of course, this is a huge shock to them. And businesses, now, that's a huge concern as well, because many of those businesses, it's a very busy street, are now closed and they won't be able to make money. And we don't know when this issue will be resolved.
Yes, exactly. I mean, residents have been asked to evacuate. Residents have been asked to move out of the area. Some have been asked to literally, sorry, Baron, we're literally in the middle of the tables here because they are literally trying to set up. So we apologize for anybody walking into our shots. But yes, people have been asked to evacuate the area. And we have, of course, spoken to some residents where they've said that the alternative accommodation that has been provided, literally they have indicated it's just a hall with no proper facilities. So we'll obviously have to ask the Premier in terms of what exactly is being done to provide alternative accommodation for these people, as they've been asked to actually evacuate their apartments. Some people have opted not to do so. Businesses, of course, have been severely affected by all of this. So it's obviously a huge economic impact for the area. I've said this before. I was saying it to our colleague this morning, Gareth Edwards, that, you know, Bree Street is the artery of the CBD. It's one of the most critical roads because it's just around the corner from Bree taxi rank. Many people have businesses, many people live in that area, many people are obviously using that street and that route to get to and from work. So the fact that it's completely shut down indefinitely and until further notice is a huge concern. But the Premier has said rather be extra cautious than have a situation where you open up the road. You actually can't open up the road, to be quite frank, Baron, because that whole section and strip is completely broken. That infrastructure is going to need extensive repair. There is no road on the one side, so they'll obviously have to fix that and ascertain how long it's going to take. We don't have timelines at this particular point.
Yeah, and how's the police presence there, Heidi? Emergency services, are they still on high alert?
Most certainly, yes. We did see, for example, firefighters, emergency personnel, the police, JMPD, because they obviously have to try and control the movement of people in that area. People are, of course, trying to move in and out of their apartment blocks. Some people just being very inquisitive and trying to get as close to the road that's been damaged as possible, when that is a huge risk. I mean, us as the media weren't even allowed to go near, this afternoon when we were trying to get there. They told us to move away. So there is definitely a high presence in terms of officials, even this command centre that has been established, and they are, of course, trying to control the situation as much as possible. And I think this is obviously extra caution because they don't want a repeat of what happened in Boksburg in December, where that tanker exploded and there was no evacuation of people, and there could have been possibly more lives saved if there was an evacuation. So that's why they are trying to evacuate as many people as possible and have personnel on standby should anything happen.
And when we're dealing with gas, it is, of course, possibly a health risk. You were there, you were on the ground, and at one point you did say that you can smell the gas, not exactly sure what gas it is, but it had a bit of a rotten stench in there. People should definitely be, taken care of when it comes to this. I think there should be a lot more visibility to protect, or police visibility to protect people not going to that area, just to make sure it isn't a health risk for the residents. From what you experienced there, is there still a stench in the air or some gas smell in the air there?
This morning, yes, Baron. I must say, when we were a lot closer to where this explosion happened, there was a gas smell that we did pick up, not as strong and as pungent as last night. And that's the thing about gas. It has this weird rotten smell, the stronger the gas, the stronger the smell that will come from it. But this morning it wasn't as pungent, and I think that's perhaps maybe a good sign. We also do know that, for example, 10 water valves were switched off last night. We know that the electricity in the area was also switched off. So there's been extra precaution in terms of making sure that there is no water running in the area, there is no gas running in the area, and there is no electricity running in the area, because if there is, what if this sparks a further explosion? And you obviously can't risk that. So they obviously have to be 120% sure that all is safe and in order before they switch any of that back on. So residents in the area don't have water, don't have electricity, and they've also been urged not to cook with gas. You have a lot of the side businesses and small businesses on the side that sell, these vendors that sell food on the side of the road, barbers that have these open barbers on the side of the road that either use electricity or use gas or whatever it might be, and they've also been urged to stop that with immediate effect, because you just don't know what's going to happen. People have also been told they cannot smoke within 1 kilometer of the area, because you don't know what's in the air. We don't even know what gas we're dealing with. And I think this is what's frustrating everybody, is that the Premier himself said we are so confused as to what's happened here, and we don't want to speculate. A gas leak has been brought into the mix of things, as well as the possibility of illegal mining having caused the instability underground and the damage to the infrastructure. But maybe we'll hear what is expected. I mean, it's 1:25. The briefing was supposed to start at 1. There is some sort of movement, so perhaps the briefing will start soon. But maybe we'll get an update when the briefing starts, Baron, as to what exactly could have caused that explosion.
Thank you so much, Heidi Giokos. We will definitely get back to you as soon as that briefing starts as well, or we'll go to that briefing as soon as it starts. Of course, that's my colleague Heidi Giokos, who is there for us on the ground. That explosion happening, well, we're calling it an underground explosion at this moment until we find out exactly what caused possibly an upbuild of gas or a gas explosion. As we said, we are still speculating as to what exactly the root cause of this could be.